Okay, it's 5 o'clock, so we are going to call this work session of the Thurston CD Board of Supervisors to order. Welcome everyone. We have four supervisors here in the room. Doug is a little under the weather, but he's online with us, so we do have everybody here in one form or the other. First thing up here is to take a look at the topic list for the work session. Any changes we need to make to this? No? All right, we will go with it as presented then, which then takes us to award presentations. So we have two awards to present tonight. And we have one of our, well, actually, I guess we have a whole number of our award recipients here for the first award. And hopefully Betsy will be along soon for the second one. But the first one we're going to do is the WACD Wildlife Farmer of the Year Award. And that's going to go to Riverbend Ranch and Kevin and Crystal Jensen. Thank you all for coming with your country. So I think what we'll do is Sarah will read the award and then we'll take a few pictures and memorialize it.
So this is a pretty big award that is statewide. So all conservation districts throughout the state submit nominations for this award every year. It was a sort of co-sponsored award from the Washington Association of Conservation Districts and the Department of Fish and Wildlife, really recognizing producers that have a very strong conservation ethic and are doing a ton of work to benefit fish and wildlife habitat. And clearly, very obviously, Riverbend Ranch is a shining star in that regard. Certainly the largest project that TCD has ever done and has been amazing cooperators throughout this process. So now I'm going to really embarrass you with multiple paragraphs about you. So this award, we nominated you for your truly outstanding land stewardship, model agricultural operation, and the critical role that you play in endangered species recovery in our region. We noted that, Riverbend Ranch was established in the 1930s and has grown a ton, both in its operation and its stewardship. And, really thanks to you guys and your leadership as the fourth generation and all of the things that you produce on that ranch. You are obviously your property is a great candidate for habitat restoration. It covers such a large geographic area and is home to such diverse wildlife habitats, including some really, prized Chinook salmon runs along the Skookumchuck River. We've done 2 miles of restoration along that, as you well know, in partnership. And that supports these overall goals of the Chelas Basin strategy to protect communities from flood damage and restore aquatic species habitat. Within that, there's so many other stats I'm going to roll out at you guys, which is planting over 64 acres of riparian habitat, installing 7,800 feet of livestock exclusion fencing, 60 acres of silvopasture, removing multiple fish passage blocking culverts, installing over 75 engineered log jams, and putting over 1,000 pieces of wood into the Skookumchuck River for habitat. And that doesn't even get into sort of your efforts as participants of the voluntary stewardship program, all of your legacy of conservation with CREP, the Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program, and your riparian buffer installation, restoring over 30 acres of native endangered prairie habitat with partners like the Boost Extension, and so many others. I think really what is paramount is that you are just true leaders in this space, true community pillars that are motivating your friends and neighbors, and you're just a shining star example for this work. And you're the reason that we're here. And so we really appreciate everything that you do.
Yes. Right, with that.
I see it on the map.
So they gave you this little
We're gonna just give them a creation part.
a sign, and they went statewide, and they were like, you still have one left, and I get Olympia because it's going to
Let's see. Oh, we need a nice front center. We need this. Are you, have you got that then? Finals.
How about that? Okay.
Would you like to hold this one?
Let's go. You can see.
There you go.
Okay, say when, small. Very good.
They're looking at it.
Oh. Did you get some? Oh, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just appreciate all these words.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, you guys a lot.
Congratulations. Good job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you can just show it off.
Oh my goodness. I'm like gonna cry. Are you gonna cry? I'm gonna cry. Oh, you can hold it together.
In a while left early year, actually.
Perfect. You
Put
can
it
put
on
that
your
here.
bedroom. Yeah.
I love that you got.
Careful with it.
Oh, like, no, this is a big darn deal. We're gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I love that.
Oh, yeah, very cool.
Oh, it is cool.
Yeah,
Quite sign for
it is. It says a lot.
Well, thank you for the nomination, you guys, and thank you for the support. Yeah.
We're all deserved. You guys are kind of.
Yeah, if I was without
Yes.
the community, we wouldn't.
Both of them in the white shirt office. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So who's? Cool.
Right?
You're not, you can do it.
That's gonna stay.
Plan. All right.
Probably not. They had one down at 6:30. We gotta see that. We gotta do that. They'd rather do that, I think, than go pump one up. So,
Great time.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, about it.
All right. Well, Betsy is not here. Thank you.
Hi.
At this point, so we are going to shift our agenda a little bit here, and we will have our partner presentation from Dan Calvert about Sentinel Landscape, and then hopefully Betsy will show up at some point and we'll slide her back in. But welcome, Dan.
Thank you.
Interested to hear the update on this. We'll give you roughly 15 minutes or so. We might have some questions or comments here at the end, and but we'll hold those until the end.
I'm gonna attempt to share, see how this goes. That works.
That does, yeah.
Yeah, we saw the right side on our side.
Oh, you did?
Yes, we did. Yeah, we did.
Yeah. So it's. Okay, oh yeah, okay, take a second, great. Hey, well, thanks so much, everyone. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here. So I'm Dan Calvert. I'm the program coordinator for the Joint Base Lewis McCord Sentinel Landscape Partnership Program. TCD is a super important partner, really great stakeholder and collaborator. Their staff is helping move a ton of projects forward. Sarah has played a really key leadership role with the program since before I came on board. She's a member of our executive leadership group, and that kind of helps establish our priorities and helps drive the direction of our partnership. So I'm going to give an overview of the program, describe some of the projects we've worked on, we're working on, both successes and things that have yet to be successful. How we're working with TCD to identify future projects. So the Sentinel Landscape Partnership is it's a coalition between federal agencies, Department of the Interior, with really with Fish and Wildlife Service, Department of War, and then USDA, which is really more NRCS. Yeah, I have to use lingo, Department of War now.
I know.
We work with state and local governments, private organizations, and willing landowners to advance sustainable land management practices around military installations. I want to really highlight that word willing. We rely on voluntary, non-regulatory cooperation and support from private landowners. The program was established in 2013. JBLN was the first Sentinel Landscape partnership. It was an idea that partners came up with here locally. But the folks at the national level said, hey, that's a pretty great idea. We're going to scale that up, and we're off and running now. The program supports natural resource management around military installations, with the mission of supporting the priorities of those different installations. Each Sentinel landscape is a little bit different and unique. There's different geographies, different branches of the military, different partners, different resource concerns, but we all strive to do the same thing. we're all focusing on reducing encroachment, and that's a specific term in the context of the military. It's basically something that impacts how an installation can operate or somehow limits training. So here's a map of them across the country. There's now 19 of them. When I first started, I think there was like 7. There's been every other year they offer kind of an enrollment so people can apply to host a Sentinel landscape. An important so you look at this map, you can see that it's across the country. It's national. That's a really unique and cool part of this program. It's across the lower 48, also in Hawaii and Guam. There's some applications in Alaska right now that are moving forward. So we are part of a national cohort. So I'm one person, but there's 19 of people like me around the country. There's an organization called Legacy Works Group that kind of provides a backbone role that supports collaboration between the Sentinel Landscape Partnership, the groups. They help us interact with each other. I talk to my colleagues on a regular basis, kind of look at how they're addressing similar challenges and issues and dilemmas, and we can collectively kind of learn together. So this is really great. They're always really eager to talk to local partners, have the opportunity for me to bring local partners to different engagements occasionally. Sarah and I were both in San Antonio last week at the National Association of Conservation Districts conference, and they reached out to me and said, "Hey, are you going? Is Sarah coming? Would you guys be willing to do a little talk to kind of talk about the unique partnership that your Sentinel Landscape has with TCD, and would Sarah be willing to talk about that as well?" So that was great. Sarah has really leaned into that. I think I did a pretty good job of embarrassing her during that presentation, shining a bright light on how awesome she is. But Sarah has really helped lead. She's really leaned into that, and the opportunity is there. Not everybody embraces that opportunity or really tries to get to know the folks at the national level and recognizes some of the opportunities that can be brought to bear by getting to know these folks and like identifying, hey, here's this problem. Can you help us solve that? But Sarah's been really great about that. So here's a map of the JBLM Sentinel Landscape Program. JBLM contains about 90% of the remaining prairie habitat in Western Washington.
Wow.
So because it contains so much of this prairie habitat, it's a stronghold for multiple ESA listed species: Taylor's checker spot butterfly, streaked horned lark, Mazama pocket gopher, and then likely the Oregon vesper sparrow is going to be listed, as well as lots of other prairie species in there as well. So the presence of these species on the installation creates kind of regulatory restrictions for how the military can drive around and operate and do things. So that's the form of encroachment. So another example of encroachment is development. We're all aware of the growth in our region. We are not, the Sentinel Landscape Partnership is not opposed to growth and development, but we're trying to prevent development directly abutting or near the installation, because then you get kind of conflict between people living near the edge of the base, and just it impacts how the military can train, and things like noise and smoke and vehicles driving around causes conflict. So we're trying to limit incompatible development near the installation and reduce that encroachment from that kind of conflict. And that's a real strong farmland conservation nexus. A lot of the open space around the installation is farmland. So my group focuses on things outside the fence line to benefit actions inside the fence line. We want to conserve prairie habitat in open space, which usually means working lands. Another foundational component of our program is regional agricultural resilience and viability. So habitat, species management, ag viability go pretty well together when you're thinking about prairie habitat and ranching and grazing operations. So it's a really nice natural synergy that we have there. With some of our partners, so the first 7 or so here are part of our executive leadership group. We also, 2 other members there are the Center for Natural Lands Management Eco Studies Institute. So it's a whole suite, and we have kind of formal and informal definitions of partners. Anybody can come sit at our table. If you have an idea, if it's something you want to move forward, I welcome anybody to come join and contribute. So again, just kind of talking about some of the priorities, trying to increase JBLM's training flexibility, trying to support how they operate, and trying to limit incompatible development. And here's the fine print on our landscape goals. We recently updated our strategic implementation plan. So increasing training flexibility around JBLM, trying to conserve kind of the agricultural landscape in South Puget Sound, and then trying to support conservation for recovering and managing prairie species and habitats. So I'll talk about some projects here that have happened. This is a picture of a prescribed burn on Scatter Creek Wildlife Preserve, WWW property that was funded by the Department of War and REPI, which is the program I'll talk about. Just a quick overview of some of the funding here. We brought quite a bit of money in here recently, and we're actively pursuing more resources to try and do more work. And again, this is all supporting off-base work that are projects that are developed and led by partners like the Thurston Conservation District. So this is an overview of some projects that were not successful, but they're still ripe and ready to go. You guys are probably aware of the RC, the Regional Conservation Partnership Program. I speak in lingo all the time. I try and do my best to pull out, but the RCPP submission that was not successful, even though it wasn't successful, TCD led it. It still was a really great exercise in helping the South Sound Community Farmland Trust kind of ratchet up their capacity and identify opportunities, help us build a relationship with the NRCS, and we are requesting more. We requested funds to support a future conservation easement with NRCS for the Fido farm there, and we're cautiously optimistic that that's going to move forward. We submitted there's another. I'm going to talk about REPI in a second. Sorry if you guys don't know that term. It's a funding program I'll describe in a moment here, but there's kind of different colors of REPI funding. But we submitted a special kind of proposal to try and do a lot of conserving of farms around JBLM, mostly in Pierce County, some in Thurston County as well. We're trying to match REPI funds with NRCS for large scale conservation easements, and we're going to keep trying to leverage these two kind of federal partners that are part of the Sentinel landscape for conservation work in our region. I missed the REPI slide. Oh, sorry, I should have talked about REPI. So you saw the term there. Yeah, so Readiness Environmental Protection Integration. Again, that's the program that supports resource management around military installations. It's off-base work, so it's not on-base work, but it's designed to support what's happening on the installation. Here's some projects that have been successful. So again, these were kind of unique projects that we put together with partner input. The first one here was supporting mostly prairie habitat restoration and management. They got funding for a seed coordinator who's working to kind of identify prairie plant and seed production capacity needs and requirements regionally. A shared resource crew. That's a crew of folks who are working at lots of different sites around the region. So the idea is you have one set of tools, one group of people who can do the work, one truck. Instead of having everybody have their own things, this crew goes around the region and works on different sites to try and be more efficient. This program also funded trying to integrate tribal priorities into prairie oak restoration. It funded some restoration work on the Chehalis and the Nisqually reservations. It funded a 3-day co-management workshop that some folks from Eco Studies led, focusing mostly on camas and kind of like traditional foods and the management of that. So trying to think about coordinating traditional ecological knowledge with Western science, some different kind of species recovery and reintroduction efforts, and then landowner outreach and engagement that was led mostly by TCD and Extension. Another piece here is another challenge, revenue REPI challenge that was led by WSU. So species recovery efforts, reintroduction, trying to encourage local producers to consider growing and producing prairie plants and seeds. Again, that's a real bottleneck for restoration efforts, and ties into both prairie restoration and also regional ag viability. This market is going to be there. We know it's going to be there, but there's not enough plants and seeds. So trying to increase the local production of that. And then also enhancing ag grasslands and grazing operations, some field enhancement efforts, and also some silvopasture and agroforestry work that the WSU is leading. But REPI, one thing I want to get across, it's super flexible. It's really responsive to what the local needs are. There's literally, the sky's the limit. Like, you have a problem, how do you want to solve it? Throw it at us, we'll consider it. And it's super flexible. It can be relatively easy to administer compared to some other funding sources, and can fund capacity again, which is some of the hardest, like the people to do the work. that's some of the hardest pieces to fund often. So it's a great resource. So here's some future potential collaboration opportunities. I mentioned we were in San Antonio last week and at the National Association of Conservation Districts conference, there's kind of a relationship between REPI and NACD for funding to support capacity on the ground. And literally we heard, give us a one pager, tell us what you need, and we'll see if we can get you some money to do it. They are trying to make it less is unburdensome and kind of smooth as possible. Hasn't happened yet, but we're again cautiously optimistic that it will happen. Got some positive indications there. TCD has helped develop REPI projects. There's kind of like different colors of REPI. There's REPI Regular and REPI Challenge. REPI Regular is sort of an annual project submission process that we have been working hard to tee up kind of like a transparent process that's not as complicated as like the SAM recovery lead entity process, but it also gives some kind of transparency into how projects are developed and prioritized. And we are hoping that folks will give us project ideas in the next few days here. And those are submitted usually in June or July. And those are the more traditional resource management stuff, land protection efforts. REPI Challenge is more innovative. You have some idea that's kind of more out of the box and might not be a good fit for the regular REPI. That's where you put that in there. We're working right now on a REPI Challenge proposal, working with the Nisqually Land Trust, Capital Land Trust, hopefully American Farmland Trust, and TCD to think about providing land capacity for land trusts to do the front end work of like landowner outreach and engagement, due diligence, appraisals, that key piece of talking to landowners. If you're going to ask somebody to consider conservation easement or an acquisition, you need to tell them like what's in it for you, what's the economic benefit, or help give them that information. But it's really hugely expensive to develop that information. So looking for some funding to support that. TCD, it does a great job of landowner outreach and engagement, like helping identify, they're leveraging their relationships and trust in the community to identify potential project opportunities and help us think about how we might engage with those folks. General project development. I always try and stress to our partners that like you have to tell us what's important, help us develop projects, because we have to kind of get it into this REPI project queue. And if you don't do that, then you aren't going to be positioned to receive funding. And so it's a bit of a process to do that, but it's important. I had a fascinating call with one of my colleagues from JBL this morning. There's apparently like a gigantic Pentagon budget, like bigger than they've ever had before. He called me and said, you guys need to tee up projects to be ready. You have to build the buckets to catch the money if it comes. It happens on a semi-regular basis. Like in September, the federal fiscal year is ending. We need who's ready to receive money. It happened to us 2 years ago. We got like $8 million literally like on a Friday afternoon. And then, are you guys ready to take this? You have project ready to go? Yes. And by Monday, the money was allocated. It can happen that quickly, but you have to be ready to go and have the projects in place to do that. So that's the project development piece. Policy advocacy and education. Sarah wears so many different hats. You guys know that much better than I do. And understands how to be strategic about connecting the dots at the local, regional, statewide, national levels. And so there's always lots of ways to be creative and think about how do you connect those dots, I was talking about the Venn diagram, like where's the central node in there that everybody cares about, and identify that spot and figure out how to leverage those partnerships and educate people and help steer resources and priorities towards the things we want to work on. And then Sarah's also a member of our executive leadership group, kind of our steering committee, and provides a really important voice there to help make sure that we're thinking about the priorities of local landowners and conservation districts and working landowners. So she's a critical voice there to help kind of steer that group. And yeah, she had the direction things are going in. And I think that's about all I have. So that was pretty quick. Happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you very much. We'll turn to questions. Doug, I'll ask you first. Do you have anything?
He did put one into chat
I
to me.
didn't see that.
It was
Let's take a
me
look at it.
directly.
Oh, okay.
He's curious if any of the recent rifts or furloughs have had an impact on the program.
Yes. Both. Let's see. So I know that U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service locally here has lost some staff. People have intentionally retired. I mean, you guys got Paul Chergino because he left NOAA, a good, huge win for you guys, but a loss for the rest of us at the national level and in the natural resource management community in general. There's been some loss of capacity at the national level for like processing applications and like deadlines don't really mean anything anymore. So we submitted proposals for like a section, let's call them Section 6 grant that would support in part of the acquisition for the Maytown property. We're hoping to advance. We're supposed to hear about that like a long time ago, months ago, and we're supposed to hear some other feedback about REPI proposals in January, and we have another deadline, and still haven't gotten the information. Optimistic we're going to get it, but losing staff at the national level has impacted kind of the ability for people to process the administrative work for helping things hit the ground here. And then also I go to site visits a couple times a year, go to different Sentinel landscape site visits, and it's just amazing again to talk to my colleagues and hear about that. And DOW staff and REPI staff can't travel to those anymore, which is really frustrating. Because it's priceless to have the opportunity to work with these folks and kind of get to know them, interact with them. And I have been in my position long enough now that I have relationships with these staff, so I know who to talk to. So yeah, there has been some impacts, but it hasn't really impacted us too strongly or directly. And I think the Sentinel Landscape Program, they know about it. We haven't been doged. And so I think people recognize that it's beneficial. It's pretty bipartisan, the work that we're doing. And so who knows, but I think we're relatively safe and hope I can keep doing the work that we're doing.
Thank you. Other questions for Dan?
Just kind of a question, I guess. You mentioned, did you say that you're just working on lands that are adjacent to JBLM properties?
Yeah.
And if so, is there kind of a goal to like the size of buffer you're trying to create at some point? Or
yes.
Okay.
So there's a couple ways to answer that. So there's a geographic footprint for the Sentinel landscape that is a general range where we'd want to do projects, but we're flexible, especially thinking about ag viability. If there's some project that's outside of the footprint that ties into our general priorities, that's a candidate for whatever kind of opportunity is there. And there's also a program called the Army Compatible Use Buffer Program that is more REPI specific, that has different kind of layers outside of JBLM. And it's like a mile or 3 miles. I can't remember exactly where it is, but within those are absolute higher priority areas for REPI funding. So some kind of land protection effort in there or other resource management project.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. It's not exactly about Summit lands, but maybe adjacent. So I was literally just reading today about a project that Noble Research has been involved in implementing conservation grazing on military lands in California. It sounds like this is a pretty new thing and they're trying to get things figured out, but I was wondering if you'd heard of that or if that is something that you've been looking into or maybe considering for up here at JBLM.
I've heard a little bit about that. I have not taken any steps to pursue that at JBLM. You never know. It never hurts to ask. I wouldn't hold my breath, but it's worth looking into. I can ask some of my colleagues about that.
Great. Marianne, anything?
No.
Okay. Well, thanks for taking time to bring us up to speed on this, Dan. Really appreciate it. Sarah does a good job of giving us kind of highlights, but going in a little more in depth was very nice to see. Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Right. With that, we're gonna back up to the thing we skipped over here because we now have someone here to receive an award. Our former colleague, Betsy. Hi, Betsy. Good to see you.
Sorry, I've been so evasive. And then like even tonight, it's like there's a Carsey Blanton concert I got invited to. It's very serendipitous.
I'm gonna go with you.
You know. Means. So we're going, and that's why I couldn't.
Thanks
come
for
at a
making
normal
time. thanks for making time to be here because we are honoring you tonight as the 2025 Land Steward of the Year for Thurston County.
Thank you.
And Sarah's gonna do a little reading about why that is going to be awarded to you, and then we'll present the award and take a little photo with you.
All right, thanks.
So first, before we delve into all of your sort of land stewardship components and why we're recognizing you with this award, we all wanted to thank you for your service as a TCD board member. You have been really instrumental in the building of our district into what it is today, which is, we will have 30 employees as of Monday.
Wow.
So your leadership and your insight, and especially like your practicality about the work that we're doing and your voice from the community has been woven into all of that fabric along the way. So we just want to recognize that your voice at this table left a lasting impact and legacy on all of our board members and our staff and the community, and has forever shaped the organization. So thank you as your service is awarded.
I learned so much, and I'm sorry I had to cut it short for more reasons than one, but yeah, I learned so much, and you were all great to work with.
Well, and naturally, you were here because you're passionate about conservation work and agriculture in the community. And so we're recognizing you tonight because your conservation legacy didn't stop, with your departure from the board. You continue to do that as a cooperator in the community now, and also as really a community spokesperson, right, in the Valley, and sort of drawing people to this work and keeping people informed. And you really are one of those community hubs and advocates for conservation. So we're presenting you with the Land Steward of the Year award this evening because you've had a direct impact on our local landscape due to all of your outstanding conservation efforts. And one of our staff has a little quote I'd like to share with you about working with you on some of the projects that you've done. Betsy has inspired many people through her consistent and generous nature. With conservation in mind, she donated one of her fields to install a hedgerow planting and opened her property for a no-till drill demonstration. Betsy manages her land with both agricultural sustainability and habitat health in mind, never forgetting the human factor of community building. And we felt that really just speaks to all of the facets of agriculture and supporting local food, supporting the environment and the habitat, and not forgetting that people and community are part of stewarding that landscape. Your partnership with Thurston Conservation District on this project and far beyond to enhance landscapes serves as a lasting demonstration for our community. This work is not only aligned with our mission of implementing voluntary conservation practices, but also is a signal to our community about the importance of such actions on all of our shared natural resources for generations to come. So we are very grateful and honored to present you with our 2025 Land Steward of the Year Award.
Well, thank you. I'm lucky to live in that community, it's easy to be connected to those people.
Well, they're lucky to have you, Betsy.
Yeah.
You wanna maybe go over there, Sophia, take from the other side? Sure. All right, come over here. All right, so that's an award for you.
Oh.
I'll give you your name tag.
Did you do that, Tisha? Did you?
Oh, by myself, I was up all night. Hold it up so she can see it, and there we go.
Ready? Nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you.
May I have you?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm glad to finally kind of get to say, hello and goodbye and.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're glad you're here for that too. And we miss you.
yeah. Well, looks like you're in good hands. So Doug's not here, but
He's online, he's sick tonight,
Okay.
but he's here.
yeah, and this is not my ballot. This is someone I just was visiting. So she said, she got it in the ballot. I was at someone's house, Kay Leonardson, she got the ballot, said, I'm going there. I could bring your ballot.
We will help you drop that in the mail. There's a post
Oh,
box
you'd rather
outside.
drop, okay,
Yeah,
you don't wanna, okay, sorry.
Yeah, we're trying to keep everything above board here.
Okay.
People are always looking,
Okay.
for mistakes, and we
Sure.
don't wanna make any.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you'll drop
I will
it in
put
the
it in the mail.
right now.
Great.
I know you have an agenda, but I could ask at lunch, at dinner, but am I gonna get to know anything about the plan? The plan we were working on?
Strategic plan or the CEC?
Yeah,
Yes, let's talk about that during break.
good.
Yes, absolutely.
Plan.
I
Yeah.
know, there's hush-hushness.
Yes. Okay, let's move on then to item 4, the NACD conference report out. Doug, you want to start with that?
Yes, I could start. I
Okay,
looked
and
over
then we'll
the
have Sarah.
I looked over the agenda and I didn't feel it was cost effective for me to go.
Well, you're
In-
here, so that's what matters.
In addition to other things I have to do.
Got it. Okay, fair enough.
So I represented TCD at the meeting, and with a large portion of my focus being to participate with Dan Calvert, who you just heard from, in a lot of conversations around Sentinel Landscape and Reppy business, and particularly to meet with some of the national level folks and talk about really underscore the importance and the efficiency of their cooperative agreement with the National Association of Conservation Districts as a great funnel of funding to make it out on the ground. So a lot of different ways that federal money can get to the local level, and none of them that I have seen so far are as effective and efficient as the NACD pipeline. So that's something that I advocated for. They are particularly impressed with TCD and JBLM Sentinel Landscape and sort of the capacity and the anchoring ability, I guess, that TCD has within this space. We're larger than most conservation districts nationwide, and we are larger than any conservation district that is a Sentinel Landscape partner. And so they're starting to use our model and our partnership as an example in other Sentinel Landscapes. Other Sentinel Landscapes are doing great things too in partnership with their districts. And so we've learned from them, but we've also sort of risen as leaders in this space. And I think probably one of the biggest pieces, because I included some more details in my executive director's report that I don't need to go over necessarily unless you had questions, is they would like to make more of an investment in this space to TCD through the National Association of Conservation Districts, which is why I wanted to go.
Yep.
So we really underscored the importance of farmland preservation in particular, and really underscored the pinch points and gaps in that whole farmland preservation matrix, from land trust capacity, the right types of land trust, from outreach capacity to due diligence costs, to all of the other types of programs like FarmLink and things like that that really help succession planning, next generation of stewards in sort of this whole farmland preservation nexus, aside from just the actual land purchase pieces. And that they were very receptive to that, along with our traditional sort of landowner engagement efforts and technical assistance support. And so Dan and I are working on essentially a 5-year proposal that says annually we can do this much to accomplish these things over this period of time. And they're particularly interested in that now because they're renewing their cooperative agreement with the National Association of Conservation Districts, and they're building that budget right now. And so they really want to see, sort of looking comprehensively and looking big, what are all the things that we would like to do in the world. And so we've written these style of proposals before to them, which are essentially just derived out of TCD. And we've been funded. We've had some success with that. So we haven't been invited to develop one quite this big and comprehensive and long term. So we're really excited about that opportunity. And we are looking at a couple of other farmland preservation programs around the nation at conservation districts and otherwise, to sort of see what some of the models and opportunities that we might want to grow into in the future are. And so I'm inviting all of you that if there are particular areas of focus, interest, gaps that you've seen in the farmland preservation space that you would like to share, please know, drop me some feedback on that. These are overarching proposals that offer a lot of flexibility to continue to integrate and innovate and tailor our approach into the future. And so we don't need to necessarily have everything spelled out today. Again, they're looking for big buckets of things that we want to do into the future. So just throwing that out there that it was a very successful meeting. They would like us to come, have another conversation in Guam this summer. And I said, well, how about virtually? Yeah, they really are sort of looking at our partnership as a poster partnership nationally, which is really exciting. And so they want to continue to make some good progress in this area.
Great.
Good. Yes.
All right, thank you. Ben, you were looking over there at the sound I'm hearing too. What is
Yeah.
that sound?
It's the little
I
girl.
think it's a broken fan in one of the machines.
Very distracting. What if we could just unplug it or
So
something?
no, that is our complete server and hard drive. I did
Got
unplug
it.
the plotter, which is what I thought it was, but
It's a fan in the server. It
Yeah.
should
Okay,
be-
all right, we'll just carry on and ignore it then. All right,
I don't know if you should unplug.
Don't unplug.
Don't unplug.
unplug.
Just leave it, it's okay.
I want to unplug the server.
yeah.
It's not.
It's internal, I think.
Well, I unplugged the plotter.
All right.
all right, we'll move on here. Next up, we have a resolution to apply for a grant that we talked about a little bit last month through the Community Economic Development Revitalization or CURB Board. And so we are scheduled to take action on this tonight. We've got this draft resolution in front of us here. I'll note that I had a conversation with Commissioner Mejia last week, I guess it was, and she was very curious about where we were at with the CEC project, and I told her about this CURB grant, and she immediately offered a letter of support from the county commissioners for our project, and so Sarah's going to follow up with that. That'll go along with the letter we already have or getting from the Economic Development Council, so we'll have some good supporting documentation as well. So we saw this, it was in front of us in our packets. Are there any questions or concerns with what we saw? Everybody okay with it? All right, then we're going to take action on it later this evening. All right. That moves us to item 6, a new policy, 4.6.2 on on-call service roster. You want to introduce that, Sarah?
Yeah, absolutely. This is one, and Ben, I would invite you to offer any context with this as well. I know you worked really heavily with our staff sort of thinking about this. We run into so right now what we've been using is the MRSC roster, SmallWorks roster for any of our public projects. Those rosters are not all encompassing of all the types of services, right, that TCD utilizes or participates in. There are times where there are services, for example, like archaeology or other things that there really are not a lot of diversity of companies out there that do that type of work. And the procurement processes, even for pretty small projects, are really cost intensive and time intensive for our projects and for just a lot of funding goes into developing those, and really for no competition because there's only one outfit in this region that might do that work. And so what we're proposing here is that we still go through a competitive process, but that we put out an RFP for these specialized services for more of an on-call relationship for a longer period of time. And this is something that we've seen happen at other conservation districts, not in perpetuity or anything like that, but for a longer duration than a single project. So that we can be fast, efficient, and nimble with our projects, but really, so that also, we can be wise about using taxpayer money for this work. And obviously, these were things that would be subject to revision if we are aware of more competition in this area where we can submit those RFPs or RFQs and get some sort of diversity of respondents. So This is a policy, a new policy, that we're proposing to be added to our, policy handbook. And so it's not based off of anything that you've seen before. This is a new section. And we've had a lot of collaboration and conversation with Ben about creating this new thing and making sure that this is a chapter of our procurement policy, that everything is still in line, with all of the applicable laws. So Ben, do you want to add anything to that?
This is a little bit tricky because it is hiring people to work for a government entity using an alternative to the ordinary public bidding process, but there are multiple alternative processes available, and we're fitting this into one where you get a kind of a parent agreement with statements of work on a limited on-call basis. And an example of how this could come up is archaeology is probably the best example. You're doing a TCD project and suddenly you find native artifacts that no one was expecting to be there. The project can't continue because it could destroy archaeological heritage. So you need to get an archaeologist in there to save what's there and survey the site. And if you have to go through a full bid process, it can delay the project for a year with the cost associated with that.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have some nimbleness, which this would give, because we have approved an archaeologist, and then we can just and there's a master agreement in place for them already. We just give them a statement of work related to a project. They go in, it should be a much more efficient and cost-effective process while still preserving public bid rules by having the original request for qualification process to create the master agreement.
Yeah. Sarah, you said this is not in perpetuity. What's the duration of once we bring somebody in under this? How long before they have to renew or we go through it again?
Yeah, what we've talked about on the implementation side, and I think it would potentially depend on the type of service and how long we felt really comfortable, but 3 to 5 years is really what we're looking for, and no more than that. And we like to usually start small and make sure that things work. Some of these services, in particular archaeology, since we're using that example, we have worked with the same archaeologist for the better part of a decade and understand that working relationship, and that they adhere to cultural resources laws. And so we would feel more confident in sort of putting out a longer RFP for that kind of a thing. If there's a new opportunity or a new service that we're looking at under this, or it might be a shorter duration, but yeah, that's sort of what I meant by short term is up to 5 years is what we've talked about the staff side.
You mentioned the archaeological services. Are there other services you plan to use this for?
This is the primary one right now because the volume of projects that we do is so large now that we are constantly sending out RFP after RFP after RFP for archaeology and getting the same respondent to each one. And the single sole respondent. And so it's just a lot of paperwork on both ends and a lot of money in that process. So that's what's really spurring this. I think that there's some things that we've discussed around, like maybe some marketing support, right? Where we have to set, are thinking about a duration of on-call marketing support or other types of, design services or things like that. Obviously, there's more opportunity there for competition, and that's something that we'd want to really have some legal review on and sort of see. Our FCS group is another example. They work on rates and charges, and there's not a lot of folks unique to conservation districts that have that inherent knowledge and work on those types of studies.
So legally, you don't have to put an RFP out for 3.
You do.
You
put it
still
out
do.
initially.
Yep.
But you don't, but it's not based on a particular project.
Yeah.
It's based on
All right, that's
qualifications.
where I lost it. Okay.
Yes.
Create a list.
This would be a period of time to do
Okay.
projects that happen within that
Right,
period of time,
right.
and then we'd reissue it again.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Anything else in this one? Okay, this is scheduled on our consent agenda tonight for adoption, so
Okay.
no further comments here. We will take action on it under consent.
Sounds good.
You okay?
Interesting.
That is item 7, strategic planning outreach.
This is a quick update. After our January meeting, we were talking about providing the board with some more information about city council and county commissioner public comment periods, and what we decided to do on the staff side is you're actually going to receive an email that is sort of a smart sheet sign up rather than trying to do multi-layered scheduling of all these different appointments over different months with all of you. You'll be able to see what those time slots are in those different meetings, and you'll be able to sign up for them. Once you sign up for them, you'll be able to get the talking points, and then you'll have access to both web and print materials here at the office. So just trying to make it kind of slick and efficient for you guys to plug and play to do this work without spending a lot of time in your inbox doing a lot of different types of scheduling. That's going to give us the data that we need then to just make sure that you're primed and prepped for these meetings. We're anticipating many of them will happen during public comment, but should there be any other requests for more time on that, it'll give us the information that we need to make any kind of scheduling support for that. So that was sort of the system that we've developed, but I just wanted to make sure that was okay with you guys, that made sense to you before we deploy that.
Do we have the talking points, the documents? Has that stuff been prepared yet?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Because my hope would be that we could start these meetings in March, just
Yep.
because I've made a commitment to try to be a part of all of them, just
Yeah.
from my own schedule perspective, and the fact that a lot of these happen on Tuesdays and you can't do them all at the same time.
It's true.
I think if we start in March, we can get through it, at least before I run into too many conflicts.
No problem. We can do that.
Good. Okay, great. So we will see an email soon with signups.
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, doing all right. We have 9 minutes left here. Let's go to item 8, Ledge Day debrief.
So again, you got a lot of the content in my executive director's report. Thanks to Jen and to Doug. We met with all of our state elected officials that touch Thurston County. So that's a huge win. Huge thanks to Kirsten, who was a scheduling master and kept us so well organized, had the best flow and schedule I think we've ever had for legislative days. Again, we were very well received at the legislature, and there's a lot of support for conservation districts and a lot of support for TCD, a lot of interest in getting back out on the ground. Forestry and wildfire continued to be really present and we're a unifying sort of conversation across the aisle that we could use as an entry point for a lot of conversation about other pieces. You see also, or probably saw also in my ED report, a little bit of information about the budgets that have come out. In particular, I just want to highlight that the Senate's proposal for the operating budget includes a $1.25 million increase for forest health and wildfire into our conservation technical assistance budget. And so we're really excited about that because it means all of the effort and all of the work that you guys have been doing and all of the other conservation districts have been doing is being heard. And in a year where there's cuts primarily across the board, that was really a showing of support, I think. I also mentioned in my report that all other agencies are receiving between 1.5% to 3% cuts in their agency budgets, but the State Conservation Commission is exempted from that. And so again, just our community on the ground frontlines work with constituents is a sentiment that's being heard by our legislators. So very excited about that as well. Any questions that folks have about that? I think we had excellent meetings and there's name and face recognition when we walk into those offices. And so it's really great.
Well, I think it's good that the Senate budget includes that additional money. I think it's bad that it's cutting the sustainable fields and
The House version of that.
House version cuts it by 50%, by $750,000. So Ryan sent out his update about that today, and WSCD will be working to put that back in, and I hope that happens because that's a really important program that I felt like was really just starting to get legs under it. And if you take half the money out of the program, it's not gonna realize its potential.
And thankfully, we very serendipitously were meeting with a few members of the House Appropriations Committee yesterday. And so we got to share that this is what the House budget does for the work that we do, and this is what the Senate budget does for the work that we do. And one of those is building this capacity back into the community. And we understand that there's going to be all kinds of things happening in reconciliation, but the other thing I'll share is our irrigation projects also made it into the Senate budget. So we have almost $500,000 of irrigation that made it in there.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, Doug has a question.
You wanna add, oh, sorry, I was gonna say, Jen first, do you wanna add anything?
No, really, I was tagging along for support. This is obviously the first time I've had an opportunity to do this with Sarah and Doug, and what was very apparent to me was the time that they have invested in these kinds of relationships, like it clearly pays off. As Sarah said, everywhere we go, everybody knows her, they know the conservation district. So it was really impressive to see.
Cool. Okay, Doug?
I think first off, I'd like to give strong commendations to Thurston for how she set it up and how we got the information timely. I really appreciated that. It was really helpful and sets my mind at ease. Two things struck me. Several of the people we met with were staffers, and some of them don't know much about what's going on. So we've got some education to do ahead of time, which we do the good job on that. And secondly, we look good to the legislators, but there's a whole lot of competition for the bucks right now. So we got to keep that in mind.
Yep.
But cross our fingers.
Okay. Well, thank you to all of you that were involved in that. Good work. Yeah, and with that, in our waning moments here, let's move to updates and announcements. We'll start with the board. Doug, did you have anything, updates here?
It's really weird for me not to be so involved with WACD and NACD right now. On one hand, on the other hand, damn, it's nice to not have so many meetings.
That's a great update. Thanks, Doug. Marianne?
Just in case everyone's not aware, on March 17th, the Board of County Commissioners is going to be doing a proclamation for the International Year of Rangelands and Pastoralists
Oh,
and Frogs. So,
and frogs.
and frogs too.
Nice, right?
Yes, exactly, right. So, Stephen Bramwell is going to be talking a little bit about the global initiative and the global importance of rangelands. I'm going to talk a little bit about the importance of our local prairies. And Nick George and Jake Yancey will be talking about frogs. So if you'd like to attend, Kevin's working on kind of organizing a big thing. We'll maybe have more of an art display and some other fun stuff. So this will maybe just be more than people talking at the microphone for a few minutes. So just be aware of that if you'd like to attend.
And attending at
It's the Board of County Commissioners.
so we'll be there.
It will be the, oh, yes, sorry, at the atrium.
At the
That's what I figured.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Great, thank you. Good.
Nothing for me.
I have something that I will bring up in our executive session later, so I'll hold that one for now. But I think the other thing I wanted to mention is that, and Sarah sent this out, the current episode of Washington Drone has a lot of stuff in it, TCD and Colvin Ranch and Urban Futures Farm, which I'm glad they focused on our farm, but I found the whole thing very strange. 2.5 hours of conversation distilled down into about 3 minutes. And I guess what kind of troubled me about it is from the first time they contacted me, they said, we want you to tell your story in your words. And I felt like what came out really wasn't the message that I really tried to convey to them. Particularly, I spent a lot of time talking about the impacts of climate change and also rising input costs for providers, and none of that came in. It just came out to be this kind of feel-good piece and pretty pictures and whatever. But I thought it's a missed opportunity for a program like that to really be educating people about important issues. Yeah, let's kind of celebrate the beauty and diversity of Washington agriculture, but I feel like we need to be educating people too. So anyway, just felt a little weird about that.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, and I let them know. So yeah. Anyway, that's all I have. And Sarah, anything?
Very quickly, the congressionally directed spending is back this season, which we're really excited about. And so we are planning to resubmit for our Conservation Education Center initiative and some of those development pieces. And we have folks in our congressional offices looking out for our applications. So those windows and deadlines are coming up in the next couple of weeks. So we're going to get those applications in and then we'll let you know more. We're anticipating quick turnarounds on notifications. And you never know what's going to happen, but we have these applications prepared from last time. And so we're going to send them in again and sort of see what happens there. The other thing I'll mention is our staff, Mara Healy and I, did a presentation to Commissioner Klaus today on Oregon spotted frog, who is a frog enthusiast and is very interested in helping to untangle some of the regulatory assurances of endangered species recovery on private lands, and there's some significant barriers there. And so having a local elected at the county level that's part of that regulatory scene, sort of supporting that into the future is going to be really useful. And Commissioner Klaus actually mentioned, do we have an Oregon Spotted Frog Day? We should make a proclamation. And so
Of course she would.
frogs are on the list, and she was hoping to do it next month. So
There we go.
there's
There you go.
there's something that happened there. So
Perfect.
yes, the other thing that I'll mention too is Washington Road is coming back to this area and looking at featuring our conservation district more and some of the producers and landscapes in this area. I don't know enough about what their sort of theme or message is for the next season, but they will be back. They're also looking at collaborating on some more statewide outreach and showcasing some of this, and perhaps like having a linkage for conservation districts to the State Fair Expo. So lots of opportunity, and well, I'm sure we will share lots of testimony and thoughts and photos and all of that. But they're keeping a strong tie to our CD and trying to help tell some of those stories. So we got a lot of good feedback from their side about how eloquently we spoke about some of these concepts and issues in this area. So yeah,
Thank you.
All right. And with that, it is 6:02. We're going to conclude the work session. We'll take a 28-minute break and we'll come back for the board meeting. Okay, it's 6:30. So we're going to call the February 25th board meeting for the Thurston Conservation District Board of Supervisors to order here. Welcome, everyone. We are recording this. We have all of our board members here tonight, 4 in the room. Doug is online. Also have some staff members, our legal counsel here, and others who will talk to us later on, it looks like. So welcome, everybody. First thing up here is we need to take a look at the agenda, need a motion. Sarah and I had some discussion earlier in the week, or maybe it was last week. So we changed a few things around. We dropped the executive session that had been on the draft agenda for real estate. Dropped that one, and we extended the time on the executive session related to potential litigation. So we'll have one executive session, 25 minutes on potential litigation. Other than that, I think everything else was what we have seen in the previous draft. So I'll need a motion on the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Add to the governance.
No, we decided not to. Yeah. Okay, it's been moved by David. Is there a second?
Second.
I think you got in there, Doug. Good job. Okay, Doug got the second. So the vote then on our agenda, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye, opposed. The agenda has been approved. Takes us to item 3, the consent agenda. Quite a list of things on there tonight, including the new policy on on-call services, on-call service roster that we talked about in our work session. So we'll need a motion on the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, it's been moved by Marianne. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Jennifer. All those in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
I-
Aye. Okay, that has passed unanimously. We have item 4 here, an award presentation recap. I don't know that we need to really do much on this other than to say in our work session, we did award a couple of awards, one to the Wildlife Farmer of the Year, and that was statewide award from WACD to Riverbend Ranch. And then our former colleague Betsy DeVreda was here, and we awarded her the Land Steward of the Year award for 2025. So I think now everyone has received their awards from the last go round. So we'll wait until 2026 and do some more awards, I think. Item 5 is public comments. This is a point at which any member of the public can address the board for up to 3 minutes on a topic of their choosing. It would also be relevant and interesting to us. I don't see anyone from the public in the room or online, but I'll ask if I'm missing somebody that wants to make public comment. Speak up now. No. Okay. So we will close public comment and move to partner reports. First up here is NRCS, and we don't have anyone here tonight. I'm wondering if we could reach out to them and just even to get a written update, because there's a lot going on at NRCS these days, and it would be good to know what they're up to in person if possible, but if it's just written, that would be great too. Tara could put something together.
One quick update just from the local working group perspective is that they had the kickoff for the local working group. And there'll be an effort to schedule a meeting with producers around local working group and any of the changes and opportunities that are going to come along with this next year's process. Every year there's some minor adjustments. There's more adjustments this time. That will be later this spring, that local working group meeting. So just stay tuned for some more information on that.
And are you still chairing that working group?
I am hopeful that I will pass the torch at this meeting. It has to happen in that meeting.
Okay.
But yes, I am currently.
For now.
For now.
Okay.
If y'all are interested, let me know.
All right. Thank you.
Wait,
next up.
TJ, sorry, can I just, Sarah, are you chair of the work group? Is that
For
what
the
you
last
said?
6 years. For the last 6 years.
Wow, that's okay. You get a slab of smoked salmon.
Yes, sir, I will take that.
I think that's important.
And that could be
Thank
an
you.
incentive for someone to take the chair over if they know they get a slab of smoked salmon.
It's under $50.
Yeah.
Yes, that is an incentive.
Okay, well,
I don't
Josh,
know
since
what
you're
salmon prices
you're
are
already-
these days.
You're already there talking.
Am I
Josh, so why
okay?
don't
I'm
you
up.
continue? Yeah, sure up with the State Conservation Commission update.
All right. Hey, thanks. Yeah, not a whole ton to update. We did see, some budgets come out over the weekend and early this week, the House and Senate operating capital. I wouldn't say I did a deep dive, but I did poke around and I heard at a meeting this week, where things were and I just wanted to go see it for myself. And so between the Senate operating and the House operating, the House ultimately does like a 4% decrease. The Senate operating, interestingly, does a 3% increase, and they do that out of the general fund and includes a focused effort on forest health. So for those funds. So that was interesting. Another thing I noticed in really all natural resource agencies was just some language that is added about if related to, I believe it's the natural system or the natural climate solutions account. Certain reporting would be required around greenhouse gas emissions using Ecology's calculator tool or methodology. So that just popped up everywhere, so that must be something new. Other than that, like on the capital side, there wasn't significant changes. Best I can tell, there was some maneuvering between whether something was funded out of the building account and could be funded out of the natural climate solutions account. So on the capital side, I didn't see significant changes, but the House takes a whack at a few things. So, you know, we'll just kind of, I'm sure that the board understands the budget process, that there will be, you know, they'll take their amendments and pass their budgets and then go to ultimately probably request a conference. So outside of that, the only other, at least on, I guess, from the commission side, I'd say legislatively is that the elections bill is, you know, didn't make it out of the, it did make it out of the policy committee. It did not, it had a public hearing in the House Fiscal Committee, but didn't get brought up for a vote. So best I can tell is that, you know, there may be some conversation about, you know, trying to get ahead of this with some of the work that happened in the Joint Committee on Elections. So more to come there. Just probably you know, I'm sure maybe Sarah saw it, but maybe a message to pass to staff is that NRI there's like 8,700 more, 8,700 more for NRI for this biennium. And so there's that opportunity. I should know, but I don't know if the district has taken advantage of the Sustainable Farms and Fields soil testing support, but that if you have, great. If you haven't, it's open again till March 20th. And then Sustainable Farms and Fields is going to have another application round that will open April 15th and be open for a month. So there's that. And then just on the RGP side, I haven't seen official announcements yet, but like best case scenarios, they are going to do another application round for what sounds like, you know, $3+ million in RGP. So just a heads up there, that'll be, you know, not an official announcement, but I've heard that that's going to happen in the next, you know, few months. So other than that, thanks, TJ.
Okay, thanks, Josh. Any questions for Josh? Nope. All right, thanks for being here. We'll move on then to the last report, WACD. Sarah.
Yeah, well, I think everything has been sort of full steam ahead at WACD in the legislative space. And so I already sort of recapped in my report and in our work session some of the status of things there. One of the conversations I think that's percolating into the future that I think you might all want to be aware of and engage in is the creation of a little echo. Is the creation of a legislative playbook, sort of, or like a policy playbook. WC, then the way it's operated is these resolutions that come forward. Some of them are asking for practical mechanical pieces, and some of them are position statements for the association. And so there's just been this layering, right, of those position statements, and some of them are pretty old and outdated or were for a specific purpose, and the world has changed in the last however many decades since that was adopted, and that was the latest thing on record. And so thinking a little bit more strategically and comprehensively around those unifiers and what are those shared messages. Every district is unique and has very different thoughts unique to their community, and so there's no attempt at, you know, sort of changing any of that sort of autonomy and bringing that local connection. But what are some of those big unifying messages that can guide WACD and their staff during legislative session when bills drop and hearings are scheduled and it's one after the other after the other after the other, and there's not time to reach out to all 45 conservation districts and however many hundreds of supervisors to take big polls on this stuff. So what items can folks agree on to sort of drive these pieces forward? Of course, there's a lot of implementation and nuances and flavors of that. I don't think they're looking to get to that level, but just what are some of those big guiding principles? So that's a project coming in the future. And so stay tuned for some of that work, because I think that's really a great opportunity for supervisors to have their voice and their community perspective included in. The other thing that's going to be coming out too is a supervisor engagement survey. So yes, we all love surveys. It's going to be short and sweet. And the whole premise of that is trying to identify how supervisors are engaging with WACD and with conservation district work, and where are they not, and where do they see the most benefit, and do they understand all of the services that are part of that? And if folks are not, why not? And what would make it compelling? And so we've seen a lot of turnover of supervisors, and we've seen diminished participation in business meetings and things like the WACD annual conference. And so I think WACD wants to do just like some mission realignment and make sure that they are still serving the current slate of supervisors and continuing to encourage the new supervisors coming into this to participate in the association and really make it what they want it to be. So again, it's going to be like 10 question survey. So please, if you have a few minutes of your time when that comes out, take a look.
Okay.
Got it.
All right, that moves us to item 7. This is the resolution that we talked about briefly at our work session on an application.
Doug has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Doug, go ahead.
Yeah, to piggyback on what Sarah was saying first, WACD has established a Ways and Means Committee, which is looking at the resolution process and basically ranking it. I've been highly critical of the whole process because everything was given the same priority, basically. There was no priority. So we're trying to do that. This Ways and Means Committee has met, I think, 3 times now we've met. So if you have ideas, please let me know.
Okay, thanks, Doug. Okay, now item 7. Resolution to apply for a grant to the Community Economic Development Revitalization Board, CURB, for some funding to support continued work on the Conservation Education Center. So we got it in our packet. Didn't seem like there was any questions at the work session, so we'll need a motion on this resolution.
I move to approve the TCD resolution.
Okay, it's been moved by Mary Ann. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by David. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, it has passed unanimously. Thank you. That moves us to item 8, governance. The only item under governance tonight is to take a look at what's coming up next month. Get that up before us here.
Oh, wrong one.
That's the right one.
Is it March?
Yeah,
no,
March.
Okay.
Then click on Zoom and click screen share. Oh, that's a lovely shot of my face, isn't it?
Yeah, it's always hard to look at yourself.
Okay.
Maybe on TV.
Okay, there we go. All right, so the work session next month, we had bumped the presentation on the Habitat program that Paul was going to give us today because we had some awards to give. So we've moved that to next month. Other than that, it looks like our work session is all of the standard stuff we pretty much see every month. And then moving into the agenda, or yeah, the board meeting agenda, placeholders for minutes and financial report as always, and reports, and we do have a tentative executive session planned for real estate next month. So anything we need to adjust at this point? Doug?
Yeah, maybe a wrap up on what happened at the legislature. I'm not thinking that would take very long.
Doug, do you know when Sunny Day is, the last day of the legislature?
I want to say the 12th, but I'm guessing.
March,
Okay, so it'll
March
be
12th.
Yeah,
Okay, so it will have concluded before our next board meeting, so that's good. Let's take a look at what happened at the ledge session.
I
In the
think,
work session?
I think the executive session on potential litigation, there's still a lot of pieces moving in that, and there'll probably be something more to
Okay.
discuss next month.
So let's add an executive session on potential litigation. And we'll flesh that out as we get closer, as needed.
And just as a heads up, and I'll make sure that staff puts it in the appropriate place for next month's agenda, but rates and charges in that feasibility
Mhm.
study process. So we're
Yes.
in that contracting process right now to do the feasibility study, and we'll need to reach out to you to talk about how you participate in that process.
So let's put that under governance on the board meeting
Great.
next month as opposed to the work session. That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that moves us then to our executive session tonight. We are going to have an executive session to discuss potential litigation. This is permitted under RCW 42.30.110 1I. Retract all that. This executive session will include all board members, the executive director, and legal counsel. We will have a discussion. We will make no decisions in executive session because we can't. And then we will come back with the report out. We've got this scheduled for 25 minutes. So let's see where we at. We're at about 12 minutes to 7. So 12 and 13 at about 7:13. Is that right? That would be
Good enough.
25 minutes. So let's say 7:15.
There you go.
We will come out of executive session at 7:15. Report back from the executive session, then we'll wrap up the meeting at that point.
Okay.
So with that, we'll secure the room here, have the cone of silence descend over us, and
Take care,
And Deb,
everybody.
you will.
thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
Bye, Josh.
Bye, Josh.
You'll see a breakout room coming your way.
I'll assure you all that
We session discussing potential litigation. We had a robust discussion and got updates from staff, board, and legal counsel. And to be continued. No decisions were made because we can't make decisions in executive session. And with that, we are to the final item on our agenda, which is to adjourn this meeting. So I'll need a motion on adjourning.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Moved by Marianne. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Jennifer. All those who are ready to end the meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thanks, folks. It is 7:16 and we are adjourned until next month.